Ladies and gentlemen, please rise. And now to honor America, please join in the singing of our national anthem. Representing the three-time Stanley Cup champion New Jersey Devils, Arlette.
I feel like I'm at a game. Oh my gosh. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the
Hi, this is Chico Resch. You are listening to the Let's Go Devils podcast on the Primetime Radio Network.
Happy Devils Sunday! This is the Let's Go Devils podcast, Season 5, Episode 14, titled New Jersey Devils Win 3 Straight. Oh my goodness! Shorts Guy, you're here as we're streaming live on Facebook Live, YouTube Live, Twitter Live, and Twitch on the Primetime Radio Network. Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is a Happy Devils Sunday. It is a great time. Enjoy it. Devils win 3 straight. They're looking good. Nico Hischier, the captain, leading the team. Yeah. It's been a long day. This is my 4th podcast today.
I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you do it.
And I'm just bulldogging it right now. Beer Baron, I don't know. What should we say? He missed the taxi squad today. Couldn't make it.
Yes.
And Scotty Osiris XM, Liquid Metal, has been producing around the clock the last 4 nights. He needed a night off. So it's just Shorts Guy and I. We're going to talk about goaltending. We're going to talk about winning. Yeah. We're going to talk about positivity, positive things here in the new year, 2022. I feel like we've been doing this podcast daily, just not like when we feel like it, but
sometimes when you just feel like it.
Yeah, sometimes when we just feel like it. Yeah, whenever we feel like it, we just do a podcast, right? But just somehow it just becomes daily. But should it be weekly? I don't know. That's just an inside joke between Shorts Guy and I. Anyway, good to see you tonight. Big victory today against the Washington Capitals. Shorts Guy, you've been watching this team the last 3 games. We've heard Scotty. We've heard Nick. We've heard Vinny. They've obviously heard from me. What are your thoughts? I'm putting you on the spot right now.
All right. Well, one, whether I liked it or not, I had time to watch, which was great because I haven't had a lot of time to watch leading up to the Christmas break. There's a lot of positives I'm seeing. All 3 games the team had to fight to win, which is something that you want to see. We're getting scoring from our big players. We're getting scoring from Nico. We're getting scoring from Jack. Sharon Govich is lighting it up. We're getting defensive scoring, which I think you guys mentioned. Someone brought that up in our group chat earlier. So we're getting defensive scoring, which is great. We've got 3 victories. We have 6 points. Those 6 points could go a long way. I'd rather come out of a long break hot like this than to stumble out of a break. Good thing. All positive things. The team looks like they have fight. They're learning to play with adversity. A couple things that I don't like. We're giving up the lead, so we're not playing a complete game. We're going up. Buffalo was an example of that, but I think the real extreme example of that, actually, all 3 games were examples of that. But I think the real extreme example of that was the Edmonton game. I think that was just that game was just a disaster from start to finish. We came out with the victory. We have 2 overtime victories, which is great. Showing being able to win in the clutch. But I think that Edmonton game is a real good example of maybe we're uncomfortable playing with a lead. Maybe we don't know how to play with a lead because you have to play that game differently than you play a game when you're chasing it or when you're tied. Maybe we get a little too lax. I don't know. That's part of the learning curve, which I feel like it's, we're constantly saying is like those kids are learning. They're learning. Well, I mean, they're kids and they're learning. That's true. Eventually you got to get it. And then I love Mac Black, but I think there's a lot of improvement he has to go through before he can actually bring us to where we actually want to be.
Yeah,
but overall 6 points. And no, I'm just going to wrap it up with overall 6 points and 3 victories are great, no matter how you get them. I just think we can improve on how we get those victories. So there you go.
Yeah, I'm just typing to Christopher in the YouTube Live because we have questions, comments. I'm seeing some funny comments in the Facebook Live. Earlier, Devils After Dark, the comments were coming through. Oh, my goodness. People were excited, right?
You said you had a lot. Nate in the Facebook group, Sam, said he... Hey, real quick, Nate in the Facebook group said he used that helmet behind you in JV hockey. I'm assuming back in the old high school days. So that's the one helmet I regret not getting, and I don't know why I didn't get. I should have gotten it. I didn't. It was stupid of me. I almost had one. I almost had one like a month and a half ago. Someone was selling it, and it was posted, and 20 minutes later, it was 20 minutes after the initial post, and they said it was sold. I was like, damn it. Anyway, sorry.
Well, I thought you were talking about Steve Tardis's comment, keep Lindy in protocol. So
I guarantee Lindy has a lot to say even while in protocol. There's no way. And which I've got something else I want to bring up about that because Steve Cangelosi, I think it was said today. I think it was today where he said, "Hey, welcome to the broadcast, coach." Like he was watching it. I'm curious if Lindy has to watch the same feed we watch, or if there's an internal feed that he gets that's different. Because we all know Lindy doesn't have the right cable company. Lindy doesn't have MSG, and they're overcharging him, and they're keeping his $7 a month. I've seen the commercials.
And the press release. Do you get the press releases? I get the press releases.
I don't.
Every 10 days from MSG, a guy named Dan Schlossberg or something like that. Yeah, well, you know what? I think I know what's happening. I think Lindy Ruff said, forget not having MSG networks. I'm going to tune into the Let's Go Devils podcast and hear what the fans have to say. And they're starting to do the things that we've been talking about. Now, Shorts Guy, you and I have played ice hockey. We've played inline hockey. Me, a long time ago. That's how you and I met. Scotty and I were talking about that earlier. about the game-winning goal that went past you, but I didn't even realize it, but you did. And Fat Mike looks at
Yeah,
me. He's
of
like,
course I
"Hey,
did.
Sam, did that go in? I don't know, but let's celebrate anyway." And that's how we met. And true story.
That's how we met. I don't know
But
why I like you. I really don't know why I like you.
I don't know either. And I don't know how I convinced you to come onto a podcast with me early on about 5 years ago. But with that said, you asked a question about the lead. You and I both played hockey, right? When you have the lead,
Yes.
good teams have that killer instinct that just know what to do. It's something that you're not born with. I believe it's developed. It's learning how to win and learning how to win with the lead. And I think these young players are now starting to learn a lot from their mistakes. They're not perfect. There are still growing pains with this team. It's nice to see them win 3 in a row, but it could have been easily a loss today.
Could have been a
With
loss.
the
All 3
Severson.
games could have been a
Yeah,
loss.
they were all 1-goal games. 2 of them in overtime. So, it's good. It's good. But through their development, 2 or 3 years from now, I would hate to see them be the heart attack kids that has to come back from their debacles every single game. But it's good that they're learning how to stick with it and not be down on themselves like against the Oilers. I mean, they were playing a great game, and then suddenly it's 5-4 Oilers off of a BS referee not paying attention, thinking about the night later. So I think that killer instinct. Who has it right now that's developing that killer instinct? His name is Nico Hischier. The way he's playing is like Patrice Bergeron, if you remember in the Stanley Cup Finals, when they wouldn't reveal any of his injuries other than, well, he's got lower body and an upper body injury, and he's got a middle body injury. And then as soon as the Stanley Cup Finals are over, punctured lung, dislocated shoulder, fractured tibia, also, he was dealing with the gout as well on top of it, and that's it. No, I'm just making that stuff up. But, it's amazing, the pain threshold and the camera shot, great camera work, showing Nico Hischier hunched over after blocking a shot, periods over. He gave it his all and still mustered a way to talk to Erica on the interview because he knew that he was the captain and he sucked it up and did his 2 or 3 minutes. Those are good. Those are the little things I'm looking for, Shorts guy. I don't want to over exaggerate it, but you asked the question, about, the lead, and I think that will come in time, but it's going to take some hard failures to get there because Damon Severson had a great game, but that just one little play could have really changed the outcome in the defensive zone.
But that's the game, Sam, and that's part of it, and that's what you and I, and anyone who's played the game has learned. It's you can have 59 minutes and 30 seconds of fantastic play, but you give the puck up once in the wrong spot, and that'll cost the game. It could be one play, it could be 1-2 second thing. And that's exactly it. You just got to learn to minimize those mistakes to nil in order to have a very tight game. That's what all the great players do. They don't make mistakes, and that's what makes the big difference between a good player and a great player is
I'll
the
tell
mistakes.
you. And you talk about mistakes. I saw Jack Hughes, Sharon Govich, which both had great games. Kokkonen. They made some mistakes in the neutral zone, but guess what they did? And Zaka made some mistakes. You know what they did? They hustled back and they back check and they poked the puck away. Isn't
you
that
have to do that.
something? Yeah, isn't that something?
You have to do. When you make a mistake. So this is coming from my whatever the hell it is, 18 plus years of coaching at the high school level. if you make a mistake, which happens, especially at the high school level, you see mistakes all the time because the players are still learning the game. What is always asked of the players is if you make a mistake, you bust your butt to get back to do your best to correct that mistake. And I always tell my defensemen or anyone of my players, if they are if they directly lead to a goal, more so my defensemen, because I see them, closer proximity as a goalie. They always apologize for this mistake, whatever. And my response to them is always the same thing. It's just like, all right, well, go put one in the other end. Go put one in the net at the other end. Make up for that mistake. And that's the best thing you can do. Is if you make a mistake to make up for it. Or if you give the puck up and you have to back check, you got to back check, and you have to be that much faster than the player who stripped the puck away from you. And that's one of the things that I think this team has that ability. and like you mentioned before, they're recognizing that, and they're not being lazy, especially because this is a results-driven league. And if they're going to make a mistake and not try to make up for it, they're going to be out of a job.
Yeah.
Maybe in a different season where things aren't so weird, they can more easily just be kind of shifted to I almost said Albany. They could be shifted to Utica, but then again, Utica may not want them because they're playing so hot. So you could very easily just lose your job. But I think this season's a little bit different with the way things are, and the constant need for players, and the taxi squad is back. I am curious though if some of the players have lost a little motivation, knowing though that there is no chance to play for your country in the Olympics. So I'm curious what that is going to bring, because I know a lot of the talk in the beginning of the season with Mac Black was he could potentially be the goalie for Team Canada. So I'm curious if we're going to see a little bit of a shift in priority with some of these players to where it's not going to be short term, it's going to be more of a long term, goal of having to play well.
Yeah. Well, want to get to Christopher's question. He says, "Good evening, guys," on the YouTube Live. Great win today. Nice to finally beat the Capitals. Don't want to get way too excited, though. That's good. Concerned about goaltending? Question mark. Let's talk about goaltending, because we talked about on Devils After Dark that we're going to save all the goaltending talk till Short Sky, arrives. And I save it for you. What are your concerns about Mac Black? What are your concerns? I'm concerned about his heel, how much he can shoulder the actual workload.
Yeah. Okay, so I have a bit. So I heard that, was it the Edmonton game, where they said that his heel was still bothering him and he's just going to deal with it until till the end of the season, which, he had surgery for it this summer, which means that it might be worse than we thought. I just hope that whatever they do to fix it, they get it right this time. Now, I am also curious, thinking in a long-term worst-case scenario, we're out of the playoffs come March. Do they shut him down and put him into whatever they're going to do to fix him? That's sort of a for later question. But yeah, I'm concerned that he's still feeling pain, because when you play with pain, when you know something is wrong, it's in the back of your mind, and these guys are professionals, so they learn to deal with pain more so than athletes like you or I, and more so than the regular everyday person. So he may have something else that he's having to help deal with the pain, or some kind of special insert within the skate, what have you. But that's concerning that he's still injured. That's the first thing. 2, and I think this is the bigger problem. I don't know if he has that mental fortitude to be our shutdown goaltender to bring us to where we need to as he stands in the crease right now. That's not to say that can't be learned. I think that there's a lot of mental aspects to the game that he needs to improve on. And I think he can be that guy. But I think as of right now, he's making too many mistakes and he's letting in too many goals at crucial times to allow another team back into the game that won't work in a playoff scenario. You know, you're up 3-2. It's game 3. You're up, 2-1. You want to go up 3-1, and you let that goal in with 2 minutes left, and it goes to overtime, and now you're in a whole different situation. And that's something he has to change, and that's a problem I've seen over the last 3 games. Is he's getting beat at crucial times. He's not winning us games. Now, a goaltender shouldn't have to win us a game because he's standing on his head, but a goaltender needs to be able to win the game for you by making those saves at the critical times that those saves need to be made. I'm going to bring up, because I've seen a lot of them over the last 2 years in the playoffs, Vasilevsky of Tampa. You watch Vasilevsky play. In any of those games, especially if it's a game where Tampa can win a series, as soon as Tampa has a lead, Vasilevsky wins the game the rest of the way. That's a mental thing along with the physical thing, but the physical thing comes more with the mental play there. When you have that mental ability to shut everything out and to focus and to make those saves, it happens. And that's a learned trait. So that's the positive here, is that it's a learned trait. But you look at Vasilevsky, he also has fantastic defensemen that are helping him, to do it, which has something to do with this as well. But it's also a mental thing that you got to be able to do that. And right now, as he stands in our crease, I don't know if, I can see from the play, unless it's a physical thing that we don't know about, like with the heel. But he's not there yet with that mentally. Now, I'd be curious how much input Brodeur has in coming down and trying to mentor him, because the unfortunate reality is we've tried to bring in veterans to mentor him, and it just hasn't worked out.
They all break down.
They all break down. We brought in Crawford. We're like, yes, Crawford's going to be the guy. Crawford's here because he loves Brodeur. Crawford can be the guy to help mentor Mac Black. Crawford's won it before. Crawford didn't even make it to game 1 of preseason. It's just, it's. We need to get a wily veteran. We need to get a wily veteran that can help, but will actually be there. Bernier was supposed to be that guy, and Bernier's out. It's like no matter what we do, and he's had a cavalcade of career backups behind him, which the career backups, they can help. But when you're a career backup, you're a career backup for a reason, because you don't have that mental fortitude to be that starter to carry a team. He needs someone to mentor him that was the starter to show him this is how you do it. Which is why I wonder, is what is Brodeur doing in all this? Does Brodeur have a hand in it? I would hope like hell he does, but I don't know. I'm not in the locker room.
I think he's more on business ops, to be honest with you.
But that's what I was thinking.
And I think,
but what a hell of a resource to have in waste if they're not using it.
Yeah, I mean, he's hell of an e-bug.
Jesus, yeah, we have the best e-bug. We have a legendary e-bug. There goes my chance of being an e-bug. Yeah, I'd like to be your e-bug. No, sorry, we got another guy that's a little bit better than you. Who is it, Brodeur? You got a point.
Well, if Brodeur's the e-bug, you're the e-bug.
I'm the 37th string e-bug.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's my that's sort of my little rant on Blackwood. Now, I love Blackwood.
Yeah, I do too.
I love Blackwood, and I think Blackwood can be that guy, but I think he's got to learn that mental side of the game to bring him close to it. I also think that there is sometimes an over-reliance on playing a certain style, and you get beat up high, like that first goal that he led up today, I think it was.
Yeah.
He got beat up real high, and he kind of went into the I always confuse these two, the RVH or whatever, to the side of the post, and it beat him up high. And that's a common thing to have goalies be beat up high, because they just kind of go into a robotic, I'm going to do this, and cut off, so much of the net. And there's always that hole, and smart players know to shoot there. But
yeah,
overall, I think we have a fantastic goaltender, Mac Black. I think that we have someone who still needs to learn a lot of the mental side of the professional game, and someone who can take us all the way once he gets that. Because right now, when a game comes down to it, like about that late stage of the second period, early third, my confidence in Mac Black to make those saves to keep us in the game isn't quite there.
Yeah, and you know who would be a great fit, I think, had they brought him in, is Marc-Andre Fleury. I think he would have done wonders. That would have done wonders. A, because he's from Pittsburgh. He drafted Pittsburgh Penguins, familiarity with Tom Fitzgerald, and Ray Shero back in the day. French Canadian. You got French Canadian. So obviously Brodeur will like that move. And thirdly, he's just a nice guy and good with the fans and just a class act, just an absolute class act. I mean. Unfortunately, it's almost like the Devils have been a jinx recently for getting veteran goaltenders to mentor Mac Black, and it almost seems like their careers are over in a heartbeat. Take the money and run.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I would love to have seen. I would have loved to have seen Fleury. I would have loved to have seen if Mac Black would have given up 29 for him, or if maybe one of them would have done the reverse. And something I always would have done if I needed to, but thankfully never had to, and do the 92.
Yep.
I would have been curious at that, but yeah, I would have loved to have seen Marc-Andre Fleury come to the Devils. That would have been fantastic. I don't know though if Fleury would have ever wanted to play in the same division as Pittsburgh though. I feel like he has too much respect for Pittsburgh and the fans and everything there to be within the same division, which may be why he never came back to the East, which is why he stayed, with Chicago.
Why were you there when we tried to psychologically damage Marc-Andre Fleury?
No, in Albany?
You heard about that story, right?
I heard about it. I heard all about it.
Yeah, it was like after World Juniors, and we're like chanting "Silver Bells." Silver bells.
So, all right. So that actually, thank you for bringing that up, because there was a good stretch of time where, as good as Fleury was, I never thought Pittsburgh was going to win anything with him. He always seemed like he was always the runner-up goalie. He was always the guy that wasn't going to be able to carry them all the way, and then he was able to finally do it. So we could potentially see that with Mac Black, where he doesn't look like the guy that can do it right now. However, he could eventually be the guy, because Fleury now has over 500 career wins. He has multiple Stanley Cups. He's now that guy that can win everything for you. So it's more than possible that Mac Black can do the same thing.
How old is Marc-Andre Fleury right now? 36? 37? He was drafted 18, probably, 2003? Yeah.
Roughly my age. I can look that up. He's roughly my age.
Yeah.
I'll look that up real quick.
But, yeah, I mean, Christopher asks, if Blackwood is not the answer, do you think Nico Dawes or any internal option could be the answer? It's hard to predict these things. The one thing we do know, you don't exactly need to have a first rounder drafted as a goaltender to make it to the Stanley Cup Finals. The Chicago Blackhawks had great goaltending in those 3 cup wins, but again, they didn't have a Brodeur or a Lundqvist or Corey Crawford, good goalie, but he's not on that.
Lundqvist was a late round goalie pickup, and he had a stellar career. I as much as I hate saying that, because he was a Ranger for his entire career, but you look at him as an actual goaltender, and his goaltending stats were phenomenal. He didn't win it all. but he was a late round. I mean, hell, Trevor Kidd, the Flames traded up so that they can get Trevor Kidd before Brodeur. Brodeur is a first round, but you never know. I mean, Rick DiPietro, what, first overall? DiPietro was first overall. Look what happened to him. He fell apart like a house of cards. Physically, his body couldn't handle it. So a first overall is not a first round goaltender, like you're saying. You're absolutely correct. I don't even think well, it's on the tip of my damn tongue for Nashville.
Pecorine.
Pecorine, yeah. I don't think he was a first rounder. I don't think Soros was either. You know, the goaltending is one of those positions where, you know, it's once you find one, you know, it's awesome, but it's not always necessarily, you know, the first overall or the first rounder that's going to take you places. You know, sometimes it's that late developing, late round guy that you find. So I would love Mac Black to be the answer. He's got the size. He's got the lateral capabilities, you know, to go side to side. It's that mental side of the game that I think he needs to improve on, which the positive there is if he puts his mind to it, literally, he can learn that. That's a learnable trait. It's going to take some time. I mean, I still work on my mental side of the game all the time, and I've been, you know, I'm 30, whatever the hell I am, 39. And I'm still working on the mental side of my game. You know, it's just something that you should always be improving. And the positive thing is you can do that. You can make that change. So, and he should.
Wow. We should have called Chico today. We should have put him on the hotline. But then again, we'd be here till like 12 midnight. Wouldn't it? Let me ask you guys on social media, Facebook Live and YouTube Live and Twitter Live. Do you want us to get Chico? We'll get Chico on the Sunday night. You know, he's always on Game Day Live, always chowing down at Taj Lounge 973. You know, but right now, Short's got to give him what's going on. We're doing it all virtually. So on Thursday, go to Taj Lounge 973, and then you'll know what I'm talking about, because Scotty told me not to reveal what we're doing at Taj Lounge 973 virtually. So I'm teasing you. Is that the radio tease?
That might be the radio tease.
Yeah.
As they say in the biz.
Yeah. Also, I saw Beer Baron like this burner account, or it's a parody account of Elaine Nazardine. It's at Coach _Naz. It's fake people, okay? And he hadn't tweeted in almost 2 years, and then he tweets at 7:37, and y'all MFS wanted me fired.
That's great. That's great.
That's funny. Dawes is having a good year. Schmidt is having a better one. Yeah, that's what Suka says. You know what? It's good to have choices. I'll say that, because it's so hard to predict who's going to be good, who's got the mental fortitude to go against Ovechkin or go against McDavid, come out with the win, making the timely saves, the stops, keeping your stealing games. It takes. We've been so spoiled by Brodeur that we forget that takes time to. Brodeur and even Sean Burke, because Sean Burke was a rookie when they went on that run in 1988, and then he had a couple bad years, he even said it on our podcast almost about 2 years ago that, did you leave? He's like, no, he just needed to take a timeout. He needed to take a timeout and figure things out. And that's where Craig Billington and Chris Carreri came in. While Sean Burke was still with the team, Sal 9708 moved the team to Hoboken.
try.
I don't know. That's so. You know what? I remember. Do you remember the old barn that Dr. McMullen wanted for Hoboken back in the late '90s? That thing was awesome. It was awesome.
Yeah, and then they had the artist renditions prior to moving to Newark. There was another attempt at that, wasn't there? The only problem with Hoboken is there's one road in, one road out. Like, it would be more of a traffic nightmare than going to Newark. I couldn't imagine the traffic.
All roads lead to Newark. I mean, just so you know, you wouldn't believe this, but I've never taken a train or whatever or a light rail line to a Devils game ever. I just refuse. I'm just one of those. I hate mass transit. I think it's you're a germaphobe, but at the same time, it's like I hate mass transit. It just feels so communist to me. I like to be independent in my car, stuck in traffic, than some guy next to me, drunk, farting, asking for panhandling, all that kind of stuff. Nothing wrong with that. It's not like I haven't panhandled that outside the Prudential Center.
I always just hated to have to see our friends make a choice between, leaving before the game ended. This was when the arena first opened. I think there was like a 9:34 and like a 10-something train. And if the game went late, you missed your train or you had to leave early. And that was like, I hated to have to see everyone rush out of there. But I may have taken the train once. Because I'm trying to think. I think I did take it once to a game. But it wasn't often because for me, I have to drive 35 minutes to get to the train. It takes me an hour to drive to Newark. It's stupid for me to take a train. It's not convenient for me in the least.
I want to know who's ever walked to Newark from their house in Jersey.
I have one friend. Who has walked from her apartment in the Ironbound section to the game.
You know what? I had all these grandiose plans. I had all these grandiose plans remember when the building was built, and I actually looked at real estate around the arena because it was so cheap, and we didn't know what was going to go on. We were like, wait, we can't tailgate. What are we going to do? And I had this like stupid idea, remember, of having a party house because I found an apartment for like $48,000 back in, this is like beginning of the bubble or around the bubble. In 2006, $48,000 to have like our own party house. Yeah, and then we had like the kegs, all the unlimited beer, coming down, and it's just like everybody party and all that, and everyone, it was like college all over again. It's like all right, just here's a jar, put $10 in, knock yourself out, but this is not this is not a playground. It's still my place, We were looking at that. It was pretty funny. I was actually
imagine if you actually did that.
Oh my goodness! I probably would have made out well. The 08 crash would have stunk, but Anyway, enough of that business talk and all that. Jacob says, I agree with you, man. I asked him on the YouTube Live, what do you agree with, LOL? He goes, I feel like a commie on that train, man. Yeah, I really do. Like, I feel like I'm being, like, herded like sheep. Remember the old Meadowlands, the cattle tunnel? The cattle tunnel is like, move, because nobody would move.
Oh, yeah, but you know what, though? Sam, one of my greatest memories is after the Devils won in 2005, and people bashed out a side panel from that cattle cross in celebration of winning the cup.
Yeah,
in the ramp that went
like this.
In the ramp. Oh my God, we made so much noise! But in the ramp that went up from Continental, I remember some guys bashed out a whole piece of the sheet metal, and it was the greatest thing in the world. That was absolute bedlam when they won in '95.
Oh yeah, and let's see here.
Steve in the Facebook group says he's two things for you: House of Woo or Airbnb Woo.
I'll tell you what. If I win the lottery, I'll win the lottery. I will buy that whole building on Edison Place, all those buildings. I'll kick out the tenants right off the bat. Start evicting for no reason or pay them off, and then we'll just have like one big party house, and then we can hang banners.
Slumlord Sam.
Yeah.
Slumlord Sam.
Yeah, just turn on the water and flood them out. That's what my mom told me, what they used to do back. No, it's a true story. My mom told me back in New York City, back in the 70s, it was like there were no rules, essentially. It's like if the landlord wanted you out, boom, they would just like flood the basement apartments or whatever and just force you out. Just like that. And keep your security deposit, too. Anyway, enough about that. Donnell Weaver, hey, Sam and Shorts Guy, you guys don't like mass transit in tri-state area. MTA, New York City Transit, MTA, Long Island, blah, 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 blah. Donnell, believe it or not, any Devils Rangers game, not saying I haven't done it in the past, but I usually drive in. I'll pay the $40-$50 to park my car. And Shorts Guy, there are two things that peeve me. Parking and ATM fees.
Mm-hmm.
But going to New York, I don't know. I like driving. I'm not. I know the carbon footprint isn't going to be great when I drive the Jeep in to New York and all that kind of stuff. But it's great because back in the day in the Meadowlands and all that, after a Devils victory, we used to roll down the window, start honking, all that kind of stuff, get people rowdied up. All that.
I would take the train. I would take the train into a game in the city. I've gotten used to doing that for the Red Bulls, having to take a train in when I have to go to that pit in the Bronx. So taking especially taking the path is convenient from over in Harrison. There's parking there and that's convenient. So if I were to go into a Devil Ranger game, which I haven't done Devils Rangers in MSG, and oh man, I think the last time I did that was we beat them it was a playoff game and we beat them in the playoffs. I can't remember how long ago that was. It was early 2000.
It was 06. I'll tell you,
didn't we sweep them? Didn't we sweep them that year in the playoffs?
Yeah, we did. And just the fans to know, I'm really thinking about Shorts Guy. You've known me for almost 20 years. I'm really thinking about, and I'm going to do this. I swear, because I didn't realize I had Chico Resch's book, and I started reading through it. It's like all these short stories, random stories from Chico, like how he took a Coke sign and used that as a door for his trailer when he was moving. There's some stupid stories in that book. But anyway, so I have to write this down before I die one day because these stories are legendary. Remember when I walked in with the Brodeur gear in Madison Square Garden? Oh, yeah.
Yes, I do.
Garden, what it took to do that. And people don't realize Ranger fans were whispering death threats in my ear when I was sitting in the handicap section with the Brodeur gear on because we figured that was the only way I could actually fit in the seat at Madison Square Garden before it got renovated. You're talking about 2005, 2006. So our friend Mesmer, he passed away probably about 10 years ago, was in a wheelchair, permanent disability, and he offered us the ability to sit in handicap seating because he was allowed.
Yep.
And we used to smuggle stuff under his wheelchair to get things like beach balls and all sorts of stuff through the arena, both Meadowlands and Madison Square Garden. I got to write this all in the book because
you do.
The fight that happened after the game. Remember that? I don't know if you remember that. There was a big fight.
I remember hearing of it.
And then as I'm walking out, the security's like, sir, why don't you come over here? We didn't do anything. It's like, oh, no, you don't want to go out that way. You want to take the elevator. These people are out there to kill you. Oh, okay. You guys are very professional. Thank you. It's like, oh, yeah, have a good time. You're just cheering for your team. You did not say one vulgar thing. It's like, oh, okay, you know. So here I am, like, in the goalie gear. Yeah. I'm in the goalie gear. In the elevator. I'm thinking, okay, we're going to make a break for it. And then as soon as I get out of Madison Square Garden, there was a Japanese tour going on, and they were taking pictures outside of Madison Square Garden. And I got stopped by all these people. They all wanted pictures while the Ranger fans were, like, on top of the stairwell, all screaming, throwing stuff at me, and these people had no reason. It was just a mess. Or walking into the Blarney Rock with your goalie gear on, standing on the bar, chanting "Let's go Devils," and you see these Ranger fans going, "There's like, what the hell is this? Hoboken?" And then walk out, you know. Those are the stories. And I may have video of it, but I'm not sure.
It's all so much fun. It's some of my most fun sports memories are going to away games and like being with a bunch of people. And, you know, it's always enemy territory, and you always have to be careful. It's just there's a little bit more of an air of excitement when you do stuff like that. You always kind of have to have that in the back of your mind, that little worry like, well, things can really go sideways really quickly. But that's kind of the fun and the excitement about it. It's like things can go sideways. This could be really interesting. Yeah. And those are the fun things about going to away games that I just love.
Donnell Weaver, don't get me wrong. All right, he says, I do work for the MTA New York City Transit, but me and my friend took NJ Transit to Newark Penn Station. It wasn't bad at all. Donnell, first off, I like transit workers. I do. It's just, for me, it's about control. When I'm in a subway,
I'm with you.
Or it has nothing to do with the people. It has nothing to do with experience and all that kind of stuff. It's all about control. Because if I want to blast music, you can't blast music unless you want to blare your ears out with headphones, you know, on the train. You know, I just don't. I shouldn't say this is going to come out wrong, but sometimes I just don't like people. You know, I'm zoned in on the game. I want to get to the game. You know, whatever. You know, when you're driving, you know, to me it's therapeutic. You know, but that's just me. You know, I'm not trying to convince people not to like mass transit. You know, I mean, I wish I liked mass transit because. What's that?
It doesn't work for everyone. For me personally, from where I live, it doesn't work. Yeah. It's more of an inconvenience for me to take mass transit than it's a convenience. And I find myself now, if I go into the city, if I'm going in for a non-sporting event, if I'm going for a show, for example, I'll drive all the way to Secaucus, which is about an hour away, to hop on a train for 10 minutes, 15, whatever the train ride is. And it's still faster than if I were to drive the 30 minutes to the closest train, because that is an 88-minute train ride from Dover. It's the fastest one for me.
If anybody is on Twitter, follow Sherry Ross at Sherry Darling NJ. I don't know why, but I think she is absolutely hilarious. Absolutely
She's always
hilarious. Yeah. She writes, this is so random. Devils, who had not beaten the Caps since the Cuban Missile Crisis, win 4-3 in OT. Hashtag okay, I exaggerated. Hashtag NJ Devils. And there's a picture of a cat that says, wow, just wow. You got a
point.
I wish she was still with the Devils.
Yeah, so do I. She was great.
She has this dry sense of humor that's hilarious that you would never expect from coming from her, because her work, her journalism was always professional. Whether you liked her work or not, it was always professional. It was always well prepared, well done. Her grammar is good. Now that I've been blogging recently on hockeybuzz.com and pucksandpitchforks.com, luckily I have Nick Villano at pucksandpitchforks.com. If you haven't seen his blog already, go there. He edits all my stuff. Hockey Buzz doesn't. I got to do self-edits, and I find myself editing like 15 times after I posted it just because,
You're good with grammar. You always catch my mistakes when I do something for us.
No, that's just me busting chops.
Which is fine because I know my grammar's terrible. My grammar is horrendous.
Let's see here. Hey, since the pandemic hurting the NHL and U.S. can't go to Canada to play against the team, they can't still do it. Just Canadian, please play in the arena with no fans. Donnell Weaver. Yeah, let's talk about that a little bit. I mean, this is more of international thing.
So,
two different countries, and the NHL is just kicking the can down the road because that's a loss of revenue if you play those games with no fans.
It is loss of revenue for the clubs. I feel stupid asking this. The U.S. teams can or cannot cross the border to go play. They still can, correct?
I believe they still can, but
okay.
the NHL is like, but a lot of these, it's just no fans, no revenue, and this is the league that's driven on gate receipts.
It is, and that's all based on what Canada has done. And I have a friend that lives outside of Toronto, and he's told me some of the stuff that's gone on up there. Canada is very quick to make those moves and to knock down capacity. And, we're not going to get into the politics of if it's a good idea or not, because that'll not go anywhere good.
Yeah,
but
besides, we don't live in Canada either, so we should really not even comment.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
but the thing though is it's eventually gonna, it is a downside for those Canadian teams that aren't going to get the gate receipts, and those teams draw very well. So it's really kind of a huge loss for them that they can't have their fans there. And on top of that, there's a home ice advantage when you have, a full building of rabid fans, calling for the heads of the opponents. And there was it may have been Andrew Raycroft that posted something with a side-by-side picture of what was going on. It may have been Toronto, and then the Winter Classic being packed. Now, the Winter Classic's actually a pretty bad example because that was an outdoor event. So that's kind of a pretty poor example. But, a full sold-out indoor arena would be a better. But, yeah, it sucks for those Canadian teams that they can't have full capacity. It sucks gate receipt-wise. It sucks concourse sales-wise. I mean, look what happened with the World Junior Tournament being canned, 4 games in. Like, that was just a debacle and a half. That was a disaster.
Just reading that post, the Slovakia goalie. Yeah, you would figure that they wouldn't have a wedding in the same hotel that we're staying at.
Yeah. Not for nothing. It would have been a logistical nightmare. But I think with all the teams here within the same area, they should have moved that tournament down to somewhere in the Midwest, and just move them down, keep them in the same time zone. You got all the teams here. Find some smaller buildings and just make it work, because that sucks for all those teams to go and to come all the way over here from Europe. Miss Christmas with family. And then had to lose out on that tournament. Maybe you can say that they could have put them all in a bubble better, but holy hell, that sucks to lose that tournament, because that tournament is so much. That tournament's so much fun to watch.
Michael Hay writes, owners are in it for the money. I'll tell you though, when you have a payroll of $50 million, Canadian. Or I'm sorry, USD, but you have to pay Canadian and all that kind of stuff, and you have zero revenue coming in from gate receipts after almost year and a half, 2 years. If you don't have that revenue, you're gonna lose potentially a half a dozen franchises. There's only so much you can hold off on. The Devils with season tickets, that money was put in for 2020 to 2021 season that we're using right now. Like they just you just leave it in the account, and they
collect all the interest on it.
Yeah,
they collect all the interest on it too.
Yeah, well, of course. But what I'm saying is, teams have taken a hit. When you hear the story of the Arizona Coyotes not being able to pay their property tax, A, it's inexcusable, but B, at the same time, I'm kind of thinking to myself, they're probably hurting. I'm not saying to excuse it, but they're probably hurting. And, and I don't know how, and when is it going to end? When is it going to end? And again, we're not going to get in the politics of it. We're not going to get into a debate about, what's the best way of handling it. But the bottom line is, when you're losing money, you're losing money, and these players these are guaranteed contracts as far as I'm concerned, for the most part. So how do you honor that?
Yeah. And not for nothing, if, I know the owners give these contracts out with, the forecast of revenue in and this and that, but you kind of have to look at the owners. Do you want to, you're the ones that are putting out for these absorbent contracts. It's like anything else. It's like any other debt that you incur. You put out for it, you got to be good for it.
Yeah.
I know there's extenuating circumstances where you can't, but if you're going to pay a guy a boatload of money, you got to be ready to pay that guy a boatload of money, because that's what you agreed upon. It's a contract, and it's, unfortunately, we're in a situation right now where it's just there's no right answer, and there's no right answer that looks like it's anywhere near on the horizon either, or no solving that answer or solving the problem on the horizon. So it's just something, we're just gonna have to eventually it's gonna end. It's happened before. It's ended before. We're looking at the end of it. 1918 ended about 1921-ish. Started about 1917 and ended about 1920, 21-ish. So we're looking at hopefully the end of it, if we're, going to learn anything from from history in the past.
But, I blame Seattle. I
no
blame Seattle.
Solution.
Last time the pandemic happened, the Seattle Metropolitans were in the Stanley Cup Finals, right?
That is true.
Seattle. But here's a good news, though. Good news. Nice story coming out of Seattle.
Hold on real quick before you get to that. Maybe Seattle goes on a run, wins the Stanley Cup this year, and it all puts it to bed.
Oh, okay. All right.
How about that? Anyway,
okay.
Go. I know this is where you're gonna go with, but go ahead.
Yeah, well, I thought it was a great story that Seattle's first ever regular season game, Seattle Kraken fan was really a Canucks fan wearing a Kraken jersey. Was behind the bench and saw the assistant equipment manager, and saw a mole on his neck, and typed it on her phone and got his attention when the time was right. The guy saw it, was like, okay, and then went back home, was like, if somebody is going to go out of their way to let me know, I owe it to her to get it checked out. You got it checked out. It wasn't malignant, and got it taken care of. And, with all these stories, everything has gone out in the world. That's one story. It's like, hey, this is great. This is what it's all about. Like, finally, something positive. You open up a new arena, new franchise. You're in full capacity during a pandemic. All the logistical nightmares of that, to do that. And just so happened to have a medical student. She got into several medical schools.
Happened to notice.
Yeah, just happened to notice and took the time out to mention something. And it takes a lot of courage to do that, especially in the middle of a hockey game. Yeah, I mean, this is why I love hockey fans and I love hockey.
Yeah, no, that's a fantastic story, and that was fantastic to see. And then they went through all that they could to find her and to he wanted to thank her, the equipment manager. So, that's the good side of everything going on right now, which is exactly what you need. It's exactly what everyone needs right now.
Yeah. Well, Shorts Guy, your feed is starting to get a little choppy, but we're at the top of the hour right now.
Must be late night.
Devils win 3 straight. Dropping the podcast at midnight. Just want to thank everybody joining us tonight. I want to thank all you fans hanging in there as it's 2022. The Let's Go Devils podcast. I'm ending the quadruple header Sunday. Who was the one that thought of that idea? And, so I'm going to play some tunes on the way out. I'll be back tomorrow for the Woo Report, midday. Tuesday, Devils take on the Boston Bruins in Boston. We got you covered. Woo Report, Game Day Live, and also Devils After Dark. So check out my blog tomorrow morning on pucksandpitchforks.com. Yeah. Till next time, let's go Devils.